Good evening from Vancouver International Airport. My name is Alex and welcome to this trip report. Today I'm heading home to Calgary with Air Canada on board one of their Boeing 737 MAXs. The type returned to service here in Canada back in January this year, and prior to the grounding, Air Canada was the largest operator in the country with 24 aircraft. They still are today, with 28 in the fleet as of the time of uploading. However, I haven't flown on the Air Canada MAX since before the grounding, when I flew it in business from Toronto to Calgary back in August of 2018. Seeing as I haven't tried it in economy yet, I thought this might make for a more interesting late-night flight. Vancouver International Airport's domestic terminal building is easily one of the nicest in the country. One of my personal favorite parts is the observation area that they have pre-security, looking out into the domestic horseshoe. Observation areas in Canadian airport terminals aren't terribly common to begin with, so this is really nice to see, even if there's not much traffic at the moment. Anyway, once through security, I made my way down to gate C-44, and here's the inbound flight arriving from Calgary. My ride back over the Rockies is a 3.5-year-old Boeing 737 MAX 8, registered as Charlie Foxtrot Sierra Delta Bravo. This MAX 8 was the third one ever to be delivered to Air Canada, and joined the fleet in January of 2018. Like many of Air Canada's MAXs, this one was stored in Marana, Arizona for quite some time. It flew back to Canada in March of this year and re-entered service later that month. This was the very last flight of the day from Vancouver to Calgary and was already pretty late in the evening. We were soon told though that we'd be delayed by half an hour. The gate agents later explained that they held up the flight due to 15 connecting passengers on a late inbound flight from Toronto. Toronto to Vancouver to Calgary seems like an odd connection that only I would make, but I did appreciate the clear update. So let's go check out economy class on Air Canada's 737 MAX. My seat for this hour-long flight is 13F in the front of Air Canada's economy class cabin. 13F is one of the many preferred seats in the front half of the cabin, and has this great view of the wing and engine. The legroom here is absolutely fantastic. One thing I really like about Air Canada's MAX layout is that nearly half of the seats in economy class are designated as preferred seats, and while the remaining half have just 30 inches of pitch, there are plenty of extra legroom options. I will caution you on one thing though. Row 12, the bulkhead row, may appear to have extra legroom, but it's actually pretty tight, and you don't have any stretching room for your legs at all. If you're looking for actual legroom, I would very much advise against sitting here. All of these seats feature an adjustable headrest and Air Canada's excellent new in-flight entertainment system. These seats are identical to those on the A220, but slightly narrower and have the oddly small tray table that sits pretty low. It does slide out though. In the seat back pocket on this flight was just the usual air sickness bag and the safety card for the 737 MAX. One thing I found kind of amusing is that they call it a 737-8M on the safety card, like it's a Combi or something. We all know it's a 737 MAX, and let's face it, I don't think the general public would even notice now. I also really like the slideshow of destination-specific pictures that Air Canada has on the IFE screens. Speaking of IFE, I'll take a look at that once we're in the air, since there's not a whole lot to see outside at this time of day. Here's our departure from Vancouver, off of runway 26 left.
And cabin crew prepare for departure, craft checking.
After that great sounding takeoff, here's a look at the in-flight entertainment. Air Canada's new system is quick and easy to use and has a great selection of content. The moving map is fantastic as well and has a ton of different options. The Western Canadian in me, though, can't help but notice the irony that there's literally a button that tells you exactly how far you are from the center of the universe. The cabin crew did come around briefly with the usual Air Canada clean care kits, and inside is the usual extra mask, hand sanitizer, and wet wipes. Shortly after handing those out, the crew also gave out some pretzels and bottles of water before it got too turbulent to continue the service. I also forgot just how bright the wing illumination lights are on the Max, and it was nice to see something outside for most of the flight, instead of the black void over the Rockies. Other than that, the flight went by pretty quickly, especially once I discovered the Air Canada equivalent of 8-ball on the in-flight entertainment. Pretty soon we were approaching Calgary, and here's the arrival on runway 35 left.
Calgary, the local time here is 12:51. Please remain seated with your seatbelt fastened and your cabin baggage stowed until the seatbelt sign.
So that was Air Canada 737 MAX. I certainly enjoyed flying it back in 2018, and I enjoyed it now. I find the new cabin and onboard experience is a much needed update over the A320s. For me personally, as long as I've got one of those preferred seats, I think it's a great ride, and I'm glad to see these planes back in the air. I will warn you again about row 12 though, since the 737 MAX bulkhead row and the A220 bulkhead row are such polar opposites in terms of space. I'm glad Air Canada has much more options for extra legroom on the MAX versus the A220 though, and for that reason, I'll definitely be flying in the MAX again on longer flights. Hope you all enjoyed this look at the Air Canada 737 MAX. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.